Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Very good evening to all of you. And today we're going to start our presentation in chapter 4. So without any wasting time, so let's start for our presentation for this week. Okay, so this is chapter 4. So in chapter 4, we're going to discuss about actor in international relations. And if you notice that in IR we do have actors, which is also two main big actor, which is the uh, first will be the state actor, and second will be the non-state actor. So we're gonna define and also we're gonna elaborate. So what is the meaning of the state actor and also the actor of international relations. So in diplomacy or international law, journalism, and academic analysis, it is widely as assumed that IR consists of the relations between coherent unit called state. So a broader context by analyzing relations between governments and many other actors. So basically, in the international system, from from the classical and then start evolutions until World War I until now, the post-Cold War. So in IR, they only have one actor, which is the main actor. So we call it as a state. For state play a big role in international system. So why state play a big role in international system? Because so for every event, we call it event lah. Kalau dalam konteks, if in context of uh, international system, so we can call it conflict, we can call it trade, so any event we call it event in diplomatic term we call it event. So any event that occur in international system is submitted by the state and proposed by the state. For example, conflict, okay, World War I, World War II. So we have Cold War. So most of the conflict were created by the state. Okay, so in we have learned about the theory in IR, right? If you notice, in context of realism, so realism only believe state actor as a unilateral actor, unitary actor in international system, and they don't believe in non-state actor. Okay, so in IR we have two main lah. For example, the first will be the state actor, second will be the non-state actor. Okay, five category of political actors in IR. The first is the government. Okay, state lah. Okay, so state actor, so including all the state, so they are the main actor. Okay, they are the heroes of the international system. And the second will be the non-state actor. Non-state actor we divided into four lah. The first will be the IGO, International Governmental Organization. So IGO means uh, the the international organization, and you can look at the member. The member will be the state. For example, in post Cold War, in post World War, so the idea of democracy and idealism become more spreading. Okay, post World War II, and then later on, they start create what we call as one international body that they assume when this international body were established, world might prohibit war or world might prohibit any conflict which is considered as big conflict. Okay, so and then on 1945, so started from by American, so they initiate that world need to have one international body that can portray the international system when you just remember, in international system, they only before this they only have one state actor, which is the state itself. State is the ultimate. State the unilateral. So, for example, any conflict or issues occur being settled by the state, right? Because most of the realism perspective or realism philosophy, they believe that international system were anarchy. They don't have any rules or none other any other state that bound with the rules in international system. So, but when United Nations established, so it is a new norms or new norms by the what the idea of idealism or the idea of democracy. So they initiate the non-state actor, or they initiate to portray and to build up rules in international system. So they use what we call as organization, and then this organization uh, were called the IGO, International Governmental Organization, and they hope that when established of a United Nations, war still can be prohibited, and for example any conflict that occurs in entire world, so we can settle in the PBB itself or United Nations itself. But until now, still we still affected war. For example, if you look today, still United Nation can't make any resolutions or can make any decisions regardless from the issues that happen in Middle East, which is the Palestinian and Israelis. So this issue already considered as prolonged issue. Prolonged means a long war, prolonged issues. Until now, still United Nations could not get its own feet to settle this problem. So this actually reflects the influence of the non-state actor in international system. Some state believe that non-state actor can be a international police in IR, international system. But yet, when they being implemented, but in the international system, you can look that uh, they have a certain failure that they cannot. For example, United Nations itself, they have a certain that what we call degrees that they can consider as a failure organization. For example, because this international organization were biased, tendons to the creator. For example, United Nations being built by the Western, by the American, then the decision made by the United Nations mostly are tendons to the US. So this makes this international organization become much more failure and failure. Okay. So if you look at the world right now, so any resolution done by the UN, yes, they have. For example, issues in ASEAN, 1991 when they came over to help Cambodia to get his own release from the Vietnam and others internal conflict, which is in Somalia, in third world state. But yet there were also some issues until now still. United Nations cannot, use their own ways to settle the issues. So this is uh, the failure lah from the UN itself, that they basically they have all the support from the state, but yet they also have vetoes power that were their main, and also they have Security Council that Security Council is the main agenda to initiate or to discuss about any issues that occurs and to try to stop the war, try to stop the conflict, and but yet still uh, you can see that United Nations cannot cannot, settle the issues. Okay, so that is IGO lah. So IGO not only UN, a lot of other international organization. You can just look at it. If the members of the international organization was the state, then they are considered as the IGO. For example, ASEAN, EU, European Union, NATO, African Union, non-aligned movement, NAM, APEC, OPEC, right? So OIC, so a lot of IGO in the international system. And then the second would be the non-state actor, which is we call it the transnational companies. So for example, multinational companies or transnational company lah. Why we approach them to be part of the non-state actor? This is because if this company they are worldwide companies, so they have branch franchise throughout the world, throughout there, and also they can make influence through the state itself. So that's why they also were in the non-state actor. The third will be this one is NGO lah. NGO, which means non-governmental organization. Okay, non-governmental organizations were also it is same like IGO, but yet uh, non-governmental organization were not the if you look at the member admission itself, they were not the state member. So they can be any person or any civil person, any peoples that focusing on a lot of things. For example, NGO, they have NGO that focus on environment, NGO focus on humanity, NGO focus on education, but there also were the pull factor, the we call it as the the push person, okay, kumpulan pendesak, pull factor, that also they can create, awareness, as well they can also interfere uh, in the solutions made by the state itself. Okay, and the last would be the terrorism. So after 9/11, okay, 2001, so the idea of terrorism become more popular and also more huge. Before that, we don't hear about the 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 concept of terrorism itself. And now, currently, there has a lot of more than 50 ethnic groups, 50 religious groups, and also 20 left-wing groups, and 5 right-wing groups. So they have also uh, they have connections throughout the world, and that's why they are considered as a translator. Okay, what is nation state? Okay, ideally, a nation state represents the joining of a nation and state. Okay, so all nation state is unite within its own state. Okay, and the people of that state overwhelming identify with the nations. Okay, a nation state is a state or country that has defined borders, territory. It is additionally a country in which a nation of principally the same type of people exist, organized by either race or a culture background. Okay, so nation state, we combine as a nation and state. For example, uh, in the Middle East, you can see, for example, Palestinian nation state, and then the what the European, if you look at EU itself, European Union, a lot of state being ruled out by the Soviet Union, after the defeat from the Cold War. For example, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary. So the emerge of nation state, they need to the race, the same race, the the same ethnic that wanted to become a same state in a one state. So that one we call nation state. Okay, when we talk about state, okay, a state will, which is the country, okay, state were intangible institution because borders can be, uh, you cannot actually, it can be differentiate in any time. That's why we call it tangible institution. So it's a principal actor, it's a main actor in the world stage. So state continue to dominate the action and the act with independence in a largely anarchy, horizontal structured in international system. So state continue to dominate the world lah. Okay, and for example, if in actor in IR, state will be the ultimate. Okay, and the if we class it, so state will be the first class, and the rest will be the second class. Okay, the non-state actor will be the second class. So despite the pivotal role of sovereign state, so they are not the only system in the international system lah. Okay, because before this they are the main system, but now we have non-state actor as a support system in international relation system. So there are significant centralizing forces that are slowly transforming the system into a somewhat more vertically authority structured. Okay, so government and the state leaders, they have governments, and so they are state leaders. So they actually make a lot of rules and also a lot of agenda lah in international system. Okay, nation, people who first share demographic and also culture similarity. Second, they possess a feeling of community, which means a mutual and identify as a group, district from others group. So want to control themselves politically. So a nation is integrable. Integrable ni masuk, you cannot see it, because, for example, the sense of belonging, the feeling itself, right? So they need to have that. So they exist because its member think it does. For example, we believe that we are Malaysians, right? So that is nations. Okay. So the distinction between the state and a nation. So state were you have political concept. Nation we have ethnic concept. Okay, state not subject to external control. So nation may or may not be independent of external control. So state may consist one or more nation and may consist one or more state. Okay, this is differentiate between the state and also the nation. Okay, so state versus nation. So a state is an independent political entity with clear geographical boundaries. A nation is a large population that shares the same culture, language, and also tradition. Okay, now we go for nationalism. So nationalism is a sense of belonging. Is a sense of love of the state. You can give everything to the state. So that's why this is the things that you cannot see. So nationalism is simply love of a country with all its inhabitants, a state of awareness that a nation does exist and is made of people who owe allegiance not only to the tribe, clan, or religion, nor to any religious or political entity. Okay, so this is in terms of yourself, inner. This is inner things. For example, if you feel that you are sense belonging, or you feel you are more patriotism, towards the state, that is the meaning of nationalism lah. Okay, so it is an ideology, yeah, holds that the nation should be the primary political entity of individuals. So nationalism is a feeling of oneness, a common consensus that is seen in the people who live in a common area or territorial, and they share common language, historical, culture, values, and consider themselves as one nation. So this is what we call nationalism. If nationalists, they are a people that initiate the ideology, the nationalist people. Okay, maintain the paramount political loyalty of individual, should be patriotically extended extend to the nation. So state, the political vehicle of the nation is self-government. Okay, if you look at state, the political vehicle of the state of the nation would be the self-governance. Nationalism is the belief that people on the same nation, meaning people of a common culture and history, should live in their own independent country. Okay, for example, like us lah, Malaysians, so semangat nationalism, right? So that's why they can absorb it to become that we call, if like say people, if like say when you look you saw Malaysian representative in football and in badminton, you automatically will have the sense of the value that you wanted to support the Malaysians. So that is okay. You cannot see it, but you can feel it. Okay. So an ideology, a complex of related ideas that establish values about what is good and bad. So it direct adherence on how to act means the patriotism things. It also links together those who adherence to the ideology and also distinguish them from those who do not. So it connects individuals, their sense of community and their political identity in contradictions to other nation. Okay, the links are constructed when it individual, so it becomes sentimentally attached to the homeland, so you can gain a sense of identity and self-esteem through the nation identification, and also it also it motivated, okay, to help the country lah. So your willingness to help your country, you have your sense of identity, and then you have sentimentally attached to the state itself. Okay, so now we go to the Intergovernmental Organization (IGO). So this is the IGO. It has a lot. This is under UN. Okay, in UN also we have a lot of main subsidiary. Okay, that were being used. Okay, to each occasion. For example, UNICEF for the children, World Health Organization for uh, for health issues, to cover the health. Worldwide Fund will be the for the animal itself, right? So ASEAN, we have UN for AIDS, UN AIDS, we have UN Environment, we have UN Human, UNHCR for the refugees and everything lah. Okay, in IGO, so the term IGO, Intergovernmental Organization, refer to an entity created by treaty involving two or more nations to work in good faith on issues of common interest. So, in the absence of a treaty, an IGO does not exist in the legal sense. Okay, so main purpose of IGO to create a mechanism for the world inhabits. So IGO consists of country. Now IGO shares the stage space with the state in IR. And organization comprise primary of sovereign state, member state, which is we call. So it also other international governmental organization. So IGO is an important aspect of international law because they also establish law in international system. We have ICJ, Court Justice, that implement law in international system. So IGO are established by treaty that act as a chartered creating the groups. Okay, treaties are formed with lawful representative, okay, governments, by the governments lah. So of several states go through a ratification process, providing the IGO with an international legal personality. So intergovernmental organization is a legal sense should be distinguished from simple groupings or coalitions of the states. IGO must also be distinguished from the treaties. Okay, if you look at many treaties, for example, like NAFTA, WTO, AFTA, they do not establish an organization, an instant rally purely on the party for the administration itself, and also it become illegal recognized as an ad hoc commissions. So IGO differ in functions and membership criteria. So they have various goal, scope, often outlined in the treaty or chartered. So some IGOs develop to fulfill a need for a natural forum for debate or negotiation to resolve dispute. So other develop to carry out mutual interest in a unified forum. Okay, unified forum. Okay, this is the objective for IGO. Okay, the first to preserve peace. For example, if you look at the nations, ASEAN itself, so they want to preserve peace through conflict resolution and a better IR, international relation, international system also. Okay, the second will be to promote international cooperation on matters such as environmental protection. The third will be to promote human rights. The fourth will be to promote social development. The fifth, to render humanitarian aid. We have a lot of humanitarian aid, UNICEF, UNHCR, in ASEAN itself, in EU itself, they have, and also economic development focusing on economy. For example, ASEAN, EU, OPEC, okay, WTO, World Trade Organization. Okay, the IGO also defined by two. First is worldwide or global organization. So generally open to nation worldwide as long as certain criteria are met. For example, UN and its especially agencies. So the Universal Postal Union, Interpol, WTO, and IMF. Okay, the second will be this is the for example lah. Okay, boleh banyak lagi example, right? Okay, and regional organization, the membership from a particular regional continent. For example, European Union. So all the states in European Union only can become member of European Union. We have African Union. All the states in African only can be part of African Union. We have OSA or OAS, Organization of American States. All the American states only can be part of the OAS. We have ASEAN, Association, Association. Also a member of ASEAN state only can, Southeast Asian state only can be part of ASEAN. This is the two criteria lah. First is worldwide, open. Second would be the regional organization. Sometimes we call it closed lah. Okay, the third will be the cultural. They have culture, linguistic, ethical, religious, or historical organization. This one open to member based on the same culture, same linguistic, ethnic, religious, or historical. For example, we have OIC, Commonwealth of Nation and Organization of Islamic Country. We have OPEC, focusing on economy. The one in economy lah, OPEC. Another. Okay. And the fourth, focusing on economic organization. So based on economic organization, they have lah organization that focus on economic itself. For example, we have WTO, World Trade Organization, we have IMF, International Monetary Fund, and also we have international cartels, such as the organizations of petroleum exporting country OPEC, that actually they're controlling the oil price in the world. Okay, and also they control the produce of the oil in the world. Okay, second we have NGO, non-governmental organization. So what is NGO? A non-governmental organization is generally considered to be any non-state, non-profit, and also voluntary organization. So it terms that has become widely accepted as referring to a legally constitute and created by natural or legal person with non-participation or non or representations of any government. Okay, so in terms of general, used to be, but it's not a legal definition. So in the terms of jurisdiction, this type of organization are defined as civil society organization. Also can be called as civil society organization. Okay, so a NGO is an organization that is neither a part of a government nor a conventional for-profit business, usually set up by ordinary citizen. NGO may be funded by government, foundation, businesses, or private person. Okay, what are NGO? So by definition, a non-governmental organization is a legally constituted organization that operates independently from the government. So they are organizations that are not a part of the government and are not conventional for profit business. They are organizations that pursue wider social aims. So basically, NGO also play a big role. For example, we have a lot of NGO in the world, right? We have Greenpeace, we have Amnesty International, we have Red Cross, we have Aman Malaysia, we have Free Palestine. So they are the NGO that play at their role in certain area and also certain criteria. Okay, so an NGO can also be defined as a private organization that pursue activities to relieve suffering, also promote the interests of the poor. They also protect environment. We have Greenpeace, provide basic social service, or under take community development. How do NGO get funding? So non-governmental organization is a non-profit, so citizen-based group that function independently of, of government. So NGO are organized on local, national, and also international level to serve specific social or political purpose. Mainly from donation, from present and also from the state. Okay, apart from NGO, often alternative terms are used for example, independent sector, voluntary sector, civil, grassroots organization, transnational, social movement organization, private voluntary organization, self-help organization, and also non-state actor and NSA. There's a term being used to describe of the NGO itself. Okay, the influence of NGO on both national governments and international diplomacy is growing. Until now, still people more trusting NGO rather than the IGO. Their numbers increasing, and as technological advance allow them to operate more effectively across political boundaries, NGO also provide increased opportunity for individuals to become involved in global affairs. This is some organization of IGO. Okay, and then we have MNC, multinational company atau multinational corporation. So it's a multinational corporation is an entity headquartered in one country that does business in one or more foreign countries. So many MNC progress through the following stage. First, which is the export product to foreign countries. It also establish a sale organization abroad. It also, licenses using of patents and technology to foreign firms that make and sell the MNC product. The fourth, establish foreign manufacturing facilities and also control. Okay, the office. The multinational corporation is an entity that headquartered in one country that does business in one or more foreign country. So many MNC progress through the following stage. So they export sales to foreign country. Second, they establish foreign sales office. So in entire world they have their foreign sale office. So it's like ambassador. It's like embassies in other state. That's why we consider MNC is part of the non-state actor. So also known as transnational corporation (TNC). So focusing on product facilities, sale outlet, and other operation is more than one country. So it's a long existent, now rapidly grow, vast uh, expansion, international trade, investment, or other financial interactions. MNC is a firm that has been incorporated in one country and has production and sale operated in other countries. So there are about 60,000 MNC in the world. So many MNC obtain raw materials from one nation, financial capital from other. It also produce goods with labor and capital equipment in a third world country and sell their output in various other national market. Okay, this is the example of the MNC semua ada lah. For example, if that were near you, for example, you can, yeah, for example, Starbucks, McDonald, KFC, right? We have Petronas, Malaysians, Proton, others, automobile, right? So they are considered as MNC. Okay, money is a source of power in IR, so therefore this economic giant exercise considerable influence over the course of event. So some ideas of the economic power of MNC can be gained from comparing GDP, CCP, or any revenue, total revenue versus gross national product, a measure of all goods and services produced by country citizens and businesses of various country. Okay, the last would be the terrorist group. Okay, uh, the definitions of terrorism: violent act of and dangerous of to human life in violations of the criminal law of the United States or any state to inhibit or coherence of a government that the civilian population or any segment therefore in furtherance of political or social objective. So this term is for the US, okay, because after the 9/11, so US come up with these definitions of terrorism. But yet, for the general definition of terrorism, is the act of violence against the civilians. Okay, any act of violence against the civilian can consider as a terrorism. Same, for example, in Christchurch, the attack in Christchurch, only one person using gun and then they shoot out more than 30 to 40 Muslim died. That is considered as a terrorism also. Okay, not a lone wolf or anything, right? Any act against violence through the civilians can be considered as a terrorism. For example, now issues in Middle East, right? The Israel using the act of terror to bomb and also blast the civilian of Palestinian. That is also the concepts of terrorism. That's why we call Israel as a terrorism. Okay. So this is terrorism also mean an individual who commit an act of violence or threaten violence in pursuit of political, religious, or ideological objective is considered as terrorism. Okay, so there are many terms. Terrorism don't have a single term; they have many terms. But we can actually summarize the act of terrorism against civilian using violence against civilian, so it can be considered as an act of terrorism. So, increasing terrorist group are able to travel, move funds, and communicate globally with this. So, it increasingly ability to conflict massive damage. For example, 9/11 attack of the World Trade Center, possibility of terrorists using this one we scared lah, if terrorists use biological, chemical, and also nuclear or radiological weapon, so it can harm the world. And if nuclear or if this one of the things fell to them, maybe world will have World War Third. Okay, so it also act of the international. This is act of international atomic energy. 2008, there are around 130 terrorist organization with the potentials to mount an attack using such a weapon. Okay, So that's why this is the predoc table of terrorist group. So you can just look at it. So there has more than 50 terrorist group in the world. Okay, for example, in Asia, you can just look at the color. Okay, below of the color, you can just look at the the source. Okay, for example, global, we have PLF, we have Al Qaeda, African and the purple color. The Asia is the orange. Europe, we have RIRA, rebels, IRA, Iron Revolution Army. IRA were the responsible of London bombing, Spanish bombing, uh, bombing in UK being responsible by the IRA lah. Revolutions of Ireland Revolution Army, IRA. Okay, in Middle East we have a lot. The main will be the ISIS, Islamic State, and then South America we have FARC. We're in Colombia, so if you play, Counter Strike or Dota, the FARC. And then South Asia also we have LTTE, Tamil Ilam, being considered as the terrorist group, and we have Jemaah Islamiyah, we have Laskar Toiba, we have more lah. So who said that uh, only Muslim can organize terror group? That is wrong, totally wrong. Terrorists or act of violence were not uh, you know by the religion, not influenced by the religion. So this is the people itself that create the terrorist group. In America also we have, in Colombia also we have, in Ireland, in UK also we have terrorism, and they are not a Muslim terrorism group. So that's why you cannot pinpoint a religious group says that if all the terrorists must be a Muslim. No, cannot, because terrorist group came from a lot of uh, a lot of things. Not consider religion is not a main to form a terrorist group. Okay, so that's all for today, for chapter 4, and inshallah next week we're going to continue for chapter 5. And also next week uh, we're gonna touch a little more about the security issues, and also power in IR. And we're gonna look conflict that happens in IR. Okay, so that one will be next week on chapter 5. So for today, so I'm uh, gonna finish off my presentation. So inshallah we're gonna meet you next week. Okay, so have a nice day, stay safe. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.